afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our study group, Spiritist Group of New York. Spiritism at Noon. We are studying the book Alert by the Spirit Joanna de Angelis and the medium Divaldo Franco. As always, please be reminded that we are recording our meetings so people can later access them if they want to hear it again, or people that could not join us today. So if you don't want your face or name appearing, just remove it, and you know the drill. Right? Okay, so let us start. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. I was a good girl this week again, so I prepared a PowerPoint presentation to you.
Mm, wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's see if it makes easier for everyone to follow. So the lesson today is about apathy, and is lesson 35. We have 60 messages on this book, so we're a bit more than halfway through. Okay, so let us start about this lesson. So just before we start, to refresh our memory, the what Juana de Angelis is talking about apathy here is lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. You know that those people, mainly the teenagers, and they, shake their shoulders. Ah, whatever.
Yes.
I think that if we had to choose a word for apathy, that could be whatever.
Mm,
Not necessarily because sometimes, okay, it doesn't matter, people can choose, but many times when we say whatever is because we don't have any interested, we are not in any concern, we are not we don't have any enthusiasm about it. So Joana de Angelis presents that with much deftness. She even presents this as a condition of the spirit, and a condition that is related, of course, to the history of this spirit. So she starts by saying, if a violent and precipitated attitude can lead to disaster or lamentable consequences, apathy is always a factor of bewilderment and delay in the mechanisms of progress. Apathy almost always has origin in the karmic program of a spirit in trial. It is the consequence of serious afflictions and errors that were not necessarily corrected by the spirit. It oozes from the depths of the soul as a depressing expression which paralyzes. So this is very serious what Joana de Angelis is talking to us here, because she says that apathy, or the state of apathy, will never help us in our way to progress. Because you see, if we just stay there, accommodate, um, it doesn't concern me, all those things that we can think about it, we are not fostering our progress. But here she's saying also that many times this state of apathy is related to our previous incarnation, to our karmic condition, because it represents situations that we have caused afflictions, practice errors, and that we have not yet corrected. So it may lead us to a sort of state of depression. It's not depression necessarily, but let's say that it's depression would be the next stage. What we can call indifference, what we can call apathy, can be, let's say, the first signs that, if not addressed well, may lead someone to depression and to paralysis, in the sense that, people will not move about, will not try to go further. Of course, there will be much more for us to, to expand on the next paragraphs. But if you already have any comment or any question that you would like to propose, it is not something we talk about that much, right? I mean, I think we generalize a lot. We just say, "Oh, this person is suffer from this depression." Not necessarily, right? First of all, depression, we have to remember that is a clinical condition, okay? But we may have depressive states due to things that happen to us. Like, for instance, now everyone is kind of in a depressive mood because they had to change their lifestyle. Many of us are very, feeling alone, and cannot do what pleases us to do before. But this is not clinical depression. This is a momentary stage of sadness, so to say, because we are deprived of things that would be enjoyable to us. The apathy, we may see apathy, of course, in people that suffer from states of depression, but it's not necessarily, a person that is presenting a state of apathy today, that is a person that is suffering depression. I may have a behavior of apathy, because I was feverish yesterday, so today I'm not good for, talking, arguing, right? It can be, but for people that do not know me, they may say, "Oh, she's a very apathic person," So it may represent a momentary stage. But normally, like I say, we put it all under the same banner, and it would be good for us to separate those things. There are people that, without being depressive, somehow, because of, really trials and karma, they don't feel entitled to work for their progress. I know it's complicated, but yeah. And it has nothing to do with depression, or if with clinical depression. It may be a frustration, like, saying, in the back of my mind, for 3 incarnations, I tried to be a successful musician. Now in this fourth incarnation, I'm still a musician, but I just let it go, in this. uh what's the point? Something like that. Okay, so we go for the next one. The apathetic is someone that loses a battle before they face it. We could, in a way, we could relate that to pessimistic as well, right? They find themselves in the process of evolution with an objective to conquer heavy injunctions, having to invest great efforts to overcome them. You see here, what she's trying to say is all incarnations, they have the same aim. It's for us to progress. But when we come with, let's say, a heavy baggage, okay, that I have to deal with that, it's not so easy. It's not easy for me to overcome the heaviness of what I'm carrying to move forward. So this is what she's trying to say here. Of course, again, all of that is the consequences of our actions. My baggage is not heavy because God singled me out and said, "Oh, I'll give this bag, this heavy bag to that woman over there." No, it's what I've been amassing during my other incarnations. So now I am here trying to, move up the ladder, but carrying heavier or heavy burdens. So it's not so easy. That's why, we have to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. Like, for instance, many people, they are very spiritual, whether they are spiritists or not, especially when they know about reincarnation or this and that. They say, "Oh, you know what, I'm going to postpone certain things to a future reincarnation."
mm,
We don't know if in the future reincarnation we will have the same opportunities. So this is would be like, a heavier luggage, because they said, well, you were born among a spiritual people. You had the possibility of going through all that, and you did nothing or did very little. Now this is the path, but it's not going to be so easy this time. You see, so we all have to to climb the same ladder. And sometimes we have the opportunity of climbing with things working in our favor. But when we do not get advantage of doing that, then the next time we will not have that many things working in our favor, but we will still have to climb the ladder. You see? So, in the state of weakened strength, the apathetic allows themselves to become paralyzed, imprisoned in the webs of indolence. They can and should break all bonds and reorganize themselves. Then initiate the effort mentally at first to put into action the program tasks they accepted, engaging in the rehabilitating commitment. So here she's saying, okay, I understand it can be very hard, especially in this condition that you bring all this burden from previous lives, but you can and should. And the way to do it is first determination, mental determination. So it's not that we are going to immediately perhaps go, hands in action. No, we are going to elaborate in a way that can be feasible to me. I may say, "Oh, I saw that person climbing that stair, or that ladder in 15 minutes." It's a big one. Lots of
ah,
steps. You can look and say, uh, uh, "I'm never going to make it. I don't know if I want it." Being in this indolence, paralyzed. Or you
mm,
can look and say, "It's going to be very hard for me. But if I climb one step each day, there are 30 steps. In 30 days, I'll be ready. I'll be over." Okay, all right. There are people that can do that in 15 minutes. It takes 30 days for us. We are moving forward. This is what she's saying here. Strategize, put into an action program tasks. Don't, if we try to do more than we can, either we will not start because we will immediately recognize that it's impossible for us, or we will give up. Many people come to a point in life, regardless of their age, that they may feel very guilty about their past for different reasons. It may be even guilt because they will think they didn't take advantage of their time. And when I say take advantage of their time, of course I'm talking about, moving up, moving is, progressing spiritually speaking, not other things materially speaking. It can be that as well, but this is what concerns us now here. Because they will, perhaps regret the way they raised their children, the way they were not good colleagues at work, the way they treat that family, the way they were indifferent up to that point to spiritual values. I mean, or because they killed someone, or because they didn't kill but they robbed someone. We all have things in store, okay? And many people will have an apathetic way of reacting when chances for them to improve is given to them. So we will say people uh, coming before an opportunity of expanding themselves spiritually speaking, and saying it's too late in the game for me, whether because they're old, or whether because they say I'm too guilty with other things. And this is never the case. It is never too late. This is one thing that we have to think about. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. We keep on repeating that. It doesn't matter if you are 100 years old or if you are 30 years old, but you already killed your neighbor and you think you are not deserving, a second chance.
I have a question.
Yes.
Then people who lives like not health relationships with like psychological problems like a domestic violence, and the people cannot feel like cannot do something to change that situation, we can say this is a apathy behavior or this is totally different attitude.
First of all, please don't go killing your neighbors, okay? I was an extreme example, okay? But yeah, uh, but remember that
Sorry.
God is forgiveness, and we always have the chance, and it's not because you have a criminal past that you will not be entitled to work on making amends and your regeneration, not only in this incarnation, but in incarnations to come. But in terms of what you said, Sonia, this is always, when we talk about domestic violence, it's always a very complex
Yes, but
situation, right?
but the psychological side, not like someone push you, but use some uh psychological sentence to press down the person, and the person could not go away for that problem
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, definitely this could be something, have you heard about this Stockholm syndrome, which is if many people that are kidnapped for a long time, they start developing, some tenderness for their kidnappers.
Mm.
Because I mean, of course, if they don't abuse them, if they don't kill them, it's like, okay, he kidnapped me, but it's still taking care of me. It's something that, it's very well known, very difficult to explain.
Mhm.
This attachment that the person that was kidnapped may develop by the one that kidnapped the person. So while you were talking about it, I could say, I mean, it's not my field of expertise, but maybe it has some relation with that, with the mind as well, because like you said, it's obvious that it's not a healthy relationship, and you have to free yourself from that. But at the same time, it seems so hard for you to detach. In some cases, I think it's going to be the person gets into a state of apathy as well. But I would say that it's so much more complex than all of that. But in any case, if that was a reality a few decades ago, today there is no reason for anyone, a woman or a man, because this happened to men as well, to keep on submitting themselves to this kind of dynamic in a relationship. Today, especially in this country, there is a lot of opportunities for you to be assisted. I know it's not easy, uh, but yeah, there are many ways of freeing oneself from this situation.
Yes, I'm asking you because I believe sometimes the people who are engaged in this kind of situation, then it's like blind about what the way they can take to have the solution. And then when you describe about apathy, then many times the person who is in this situation it's like little blind about the options to change that the the situation in their life.
I believe, Sonia, without making any judgment, that in many cases it's like, a trade, a choice that you make, not necessarily the good or the best choice. But sometimes you decide to stay in this relationship because of your children. Sometimes it's because of financial dependency. Sometimes it's because of citizenship dependency. So there are so many cases that is like a trade. You say, well, if I move away, I will lose that, or I will impact that. What is the lesser evil? And But yeah, it's very complicated. It's very complicated. And perhaps after you balance all that, you get in a state of apathy because you put yourself in a condition to say just acceptance, um, and not doing much, because there's nothing according to you that you can do. Is the choice that you made. So it's always it's very complicated, very complicated. So let's read a bit more here. Those that suffer the constriction of apathy easily accommodate themselves to the situation, even if the situation is burdensome. It provides them with a type of well being that leads to inertia and to imbalance. Life is action. Action is movement to be undertaken for goodness and progress. The effort of action results in the achievements that propel towards happiness. I was thinking about Thomas Edison now.
Right.
Right? Isn't that him, the man that said, I didn't fail 10,000 times? I just tried and then I got it. So imagine if he was a person that would be giving up. Okay, we are not maybe not talking necessarily about apathy here, but this is what it represents.
Mm.
Oh, what's the point? And I mean, and sometimes we even deceive ourselves. We make ourselves believe that this is not what we want because we don't want to go to the trouble of putting work into achieving it, and at the same time I don't know. Yeah, maybe it can be good, but it can be bad, or you see it, and we try to make a make believe story for us that we can go by in life without, but Joanna de Angelis say here, life is action. We have to move. We have to do things and always do things to work on our own interest. And our own interest is to work for our progress because it is where we get peace of mind, is where we get happiness. Questions, comments? Okay, Orlando, I saw your questions, but I'm not going to be talking about bugs today, okay?
Jasada,
Yeah,
it's everything what you're saying is so true and real. I guess just what she says here, it takes effort, and sometimes you go into the situation, you find yourself, this is gonna be hard. I don't think I'm gonna do this today. I'm gonna leave it for next week, uh, because we become, easy to be swayed and not going into the action. And it's a very, very, like you said, very, very difficult. I surely don't want to become empathetic. And well, no, no. You keep trying, finding ways to correct it and try to do the right thing. But gee, it's so hard. It's so hard because you have to put that effort in being patient and understanding. And, it takes time, like you said, Con Edison, that it's not done overnight. It is so much work. And as we continue studying and realizing what we need to do, it becomes easier. Uh, it does. It's easier to tackle it and work with it with mind and spirit and patience. And just as long as you continue and not to stand still in life and say, no, I can do it,
yeah,
like you said, I'll do it in another incarnation. But no,
yeah.
like you said, we're here now, so take the advantage.
Mhm.
But I must agree, it's a difficult challenge,
Yeah.
but not
I'm sorry.
impossible. Not impossible. Baby steps.
No, nobody said it was going to be easy, but it's not impossible as well. Ale,
Oh, hi. Thank you.
hi.
Um, this is very tough because like knowing when to stop is also not easy.
Mm,
Because when you're trying something for a while and you're doing your best and you're putting the effort and all that, like it gets to the point that you need to realize that you have to move on and give up. There are things that do not depend on us. And I don't think it's giving up, it's trying to the point that um, you see that might have a result.
You see, Ale, you are absolutely right, but you are just thinking about a single situation. Okay, so you are thinking about one fact, one way that we want to try, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. So we have to like you say, we have to learn that, like you said, when it's time to stop. Perhaps this is not the way. We have to try to learn that perhaps we have to take a different direction. And so here, what Joanna De Angelis is talking about is not necessarily just about one situation that we may be going in through, but it's about all life in general. Okay, so okay, we may try to move one way and it doesn't work, and we try and we try and we try. So here is not about giving up. It's about knowing when perhaps I should explore new avenues. But still, I'm going to continue moving and saying, well, life has said no 4 times already. Perhaps I should explore other opportunities. So I think it's important for us to make this difference, because the ultimate goal is progress, but we may see that our progress is tied to route A, and it has to be through route A, and maybe it's not route A, it's route B. And it's okay, because if I go through route B, I'm going to progress as well. I'm going to arrive at the same place. I mean, it's like I mean, if I want to go here from New York to uh, let's say Connecticut, okay, or one city in Connecticut. I'm going to visit my friend there in Greenwich, okay. So I may take different routes to go there, and I cannot say that one is better than the other. Maybe you say Route A is better because it's just highways. You can get there faster. But I don't want highways. I want to enjoy the view. So I will take the routes that are going to take longer, but I'm enjoying the view. And so there is no right and wrong, because I took route A and you took route B, because the destination is the same. But
Usada,
yes.
I like that question. I mean, we're dealing with the question is now why. Uh, I mean, giving up, but asking why, and bring justice to our purpose uh, that we're going through in this life, uh, the trials, and having this thought, giving up. In other words, I'm fighting every day for justice, demanding justice of the spirit world and the evolution. And why? We must ask why now that we're here in this physical body and demand justice for it. Too
You,
much suffering, a heavy
you,
price to pay
you see, Orlando,
for our morality.
while you were talking about it, I was just thinking that thank God we are not receiving justice in the world now, because if that was the case, our situation would be much worse than it is now.
Where's the mercy in all of this?
Worse, much worse. because what we have in store in terms of misdeeds and everything, and how we have abused it over and over, our free will, our possibilities. I think that if I had to be having a talk now with a mentor and say, please send to me my whole bill, everything that I own, I want to zero my account. This is justice, right? I have to pay for what I did in a way, okay, to learn, to grow. They would put their hands in my shoulder and say, God loves you too much to do that with you. So
And just,
I think we need to change our perspective. Okay, like I keep on saying here, we judge things with a very narrow perspective, and we are very easy to try to blame everyone but ourselves for what happens to us.
I agree.
Yeah. I'm trying to say as well, Orlando, is that it is in our nature not to feel happy with that, not to conform with that. Because our nature is much more, the nature of the creator that wants to be enlightened, and in bliss. But and therefore that's why it is so difficult for us to conform as well. But we cannot say that is lack of justice, because I'm sure, and this I can say, and you can say, Jusara said that, and it's recorded. I'm sure that we are getting much less than we deserve, because we are being given the opportunity of paying our debts with love.
Mm.
They say, if you have to pay your debts now, it is going to be only with pain. But if we give you time, your debts are going to be eliminated by the amount of good deeds that you do. So we will not have to face them with pain. You see, it's not that I won't own 10 and I will have to pay 10 with the same coin. I'm striving to pay the 10 that I owe with 10 of service. And then they would say, you know what? It's balanced. You don't need to go through ordeals that would bring you suffering and pain and tears to you, because you accepted the tears and the pain and the sacrifice of service, of love, because serving is not easy as well, right?
Uh,
I have to move forward a bit, and then we come back, okay?
I just want to say something quickly.
Yes.
Marilyn, you just have heard uh, an open mind. Just have an open mind.
I am, Orlando, because I've been, thank God, very well inspired. And you know what? We are all the same here. There's no difference among us here,
No,
and
but all the
and,
spirit is to have the open mind you have.
and so I feel your pains, because they are my pains as well. They are the things that I go through as well. It's just that now I have a different kind of understanding,
A
and
beautiful
that
understanding.
leads me to acceptance. And I mean, and through experience, I already know that God has been very, very merciful with me. So I will not complain. So let's go ahead. Eliminate the habitual pessimistic phrases from your vocabulary, substituting them with equivalent ideals. Do not say, I cannot bear it anymore, I give up. Make a change in your mental landscape and correct it for others. When I want, I can do anything. For my well being, I can stand anything. And I will continue at the cost of sacrifice towards the victory I seek. Oh, well, not everyone, but many of us are doing this now, right? For my well being, I'm staying home. I'm using masks. I'm washing my hands like my mother always told me a million times that I had to be doing, and not scratching my eyes and nose and mouth because your hand is dirty. Don't put it in your face, right? So we are doing that for our well-being. Okay, so we have much more strength than we think we do. And it's like, when you start, let's say that you are in a boat and you start paddling. I mean, at first, until you get the rhythm of it, the water feels heavy, everything is so uncomfortable. And then it become it start becoming easier for you to go as you get the rhythm of doing it. By the way, I don't paddle. I never had the experience, but I don't know why this example came to me now. Yeah, yeah. Any anything? Should we go on? Okay. Humans journey through the paths they elect and pleases them. Philip, here is where I changed a word. It was comply, but it's actually pleases them. Apathy is an illness of the soul which all should battle with their best disposition. In the competitive combat of terrestrial life, there is no place for the apathic person. Fearing the blessed labor or running from it through mechanisms of unconscious evasion, humans allow themselves to be poisoned by the morbid psychosphere of self pity, seeking to inspire compassion before awakening. So here she's just emphasizing us. Listen, it's in Portuguese. We have a very well known expression to 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 refer to people like this. I'm going to try to put it in English. Is a syndrome of poor me, a síndrome do coitadinho. The syndrome of the poor me. Oh, poor me, and then people will feel sorry for you. And I mean, this is what she's saying here. We have to do something. We have to move. We have to do everything that is in our power. And here, listen, we are not talking about physical movement per se. Even today, that we are very physically impaired in a way, we have to be mostly home. But we can expand. We can talk to people that needs us. We can be part of a study group like this one. We can read good books. This is moving versus staying in bed and just doing nothing productive. In the apathetic states, the processes of self obsession are initiated. It also allows obsessive submission to reckless spirits who comprise themselves in exploiting physically, emotionally, organically those who make themselves spontaneous victims. React with vigor against the plot of apathy or disinterest. Pray and conquer the subtle adversary that seeks to find lodging in you, taking advantage of false justifications. The law of labor is an imposition of the natural laws that promote progress and foment life. So here she's saying that first of all, we start in a process of self obsession because we start telling to ourselves that we are incapable.
Yeah.
I can't, I'll never do it. It's not within my reach. It never works for me. Every time I fail. And we start, sending those messages like, the mantras to ourselves. That is a process of self-obsession. And of course, since like attracts like, and we are surrounded by spirits, what kind of spirits do you think you are going to attract? There will be hordes of spirits with the syndrome of poor me surrounding us, saying, "Yeah, you're right. This is it." And they kind of, stay with us and aggravates even more our situation. That's why whenever we have emotions that will not work in our own interest, we have to fight them, because we are not only fighting with ourselves, but we are fighting with the antenna that we represent, that is attracting likewise minds to us. So the best way to do that, pray. Pray, again, is not just the saying the Lord's Prayer. It's the mental prayer of, changing your mind outlook, with good. Sometimes, it's so hard for us to pray. So, but today, with all these resources that we have, you just go in the internet and you put there a prayer, a meditation. Watch again this, this recording that we are doing now. Sometimes I do that when my head is too busy and I need a good vibration around me. I just put, something like that, or a good music. That is a form of prayer as well. And the work here means moving forward, moving always. It is not for any other reason that the evangelical tradition teaches us God helps those who help themselves, calling us to the fight against apathy and its partisans, which are known as disenchantment, depression, fatigue, and the equivalent. I love this phrase, God helps those who help themselves. Because sometimes we don't just want them. I mean, even a baby, when they want to be held by their parents, they do like this. Right? Because they have to communicate, I want you, I need your help, I need your care, right? We have to do the same. And this, in terms of the spiritual values, it means open up our antennas so that they can uh, come to us, because sometimes they are around, but we are not allowing them. We have our doors shut. But when we express, I need you, I need help, I need protection, when we express that, then they will come. They will be able to come and reach us productively. Questions, comments?
And in the beginning, my question, because I suppose the empathy could be something from someone to you. And in the end of this chapter, I learned apathy is something great for yourself, inside yourself,
Mhm.
not come from the others, but for yourself.
Yeah.
And sorry, my question in the beginning, because now I understand better the meaning of
Mhm.
things.
That's exactly that. Orlando, if a medium ignore messages, if they are apathetic, not necessarily, they are uncautious. They may be like we do, when we were children and our parents. And I mean, for those who have parents until today, they will be telling us what to do, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. If your parents are alive, they will still be coming to you and saying, do that or don't do that, right? So, is us ignoring the voice of common sense. So sometimes it's not being apathetic necessarily. Apathetic is really more like losing faith in oneself. Uh, Losing faith in oneself.
Sarah,
Yes?
this thing about God say that he helps only those that help themselves.
Yes.
So what does humanity do with the homeless and the mentally retarded people that cannot help themselves? Isn't there a contradiction?
And not really, Orlando, because this is also an opportunity for all the others to develop their compassion and care for brothers and sisters and be able to be of service to them.
To,
We are in the wrong when we do not act like this, when we have this situation in our household, or the community that we live, the family members that we have. This is always an opportunity for us to be of service and to understand that each one of us have different trials, different situations to face in life. Some may be more apparent than others, but not necessarily more serious than others. Right? I mean, we always tend to put much more value in what strikes our sense. Uh, and of course, seeing someone that is impaired is always going to impact us more. But there are many people that goes through so many uh, hidden suffering, like Sonia mentioned, so many people that goes through domestic violence in their homes, and we don't know, and we stay away. So it is part of our, you know
Sarah, it seems to me like Joanna, I mean, this nun does not reflect compassion, mercy, and justice like other nuns that we in our life has experienced, giving their life to the poor and to the sick.
in fact, Orlando, she has so much compassion for us that she could be living in a world of complete bliss now, but she has decided to stay behind, to stay here on earth to guide us. So she's like a mother that many times has to present love in a very authoritarian way
I see.
to see if we can wake up. You've been playing for too long, and I love you so much that I cannot allow you to go like this anymore. And sorry if sometimes my words may come a bit you know uh, heavier or serious to you. But when someone tried differently, it didn't work. And so now it's time for us to wake up And so we are very, very grateful and blessed to have a spirit like herself that has been an enlightened spirit since the time of Jesus. So for 2000 years, she could have chosen to go to a different world, a much, much better world than we are right now. And she has decided to stay behind to work for her community, for the love and an implementation of love in this planet.